Hey guys, this is Paul from Smart Easy DIY. Welcome to episode 6 of Building My Garage. So today I'm going to be digging in the plumbing for under the concrete slab. So all this prep has to be done before anything else can get done. So I wanted to kind of walk you through some of the process of how I'm doing it. Be sure to check with your local building codes to see what requirements are in your area before you do something like this. But hopefully this will give you some ideas of the process that I went through. Okay, so while I'm waiting on getting some more pins and stuff to finish up my form boards, what I decided to do is shift gears here a little bit and think about plumbing. I am going to have a bathroom in here with a stand-up shower, a toilet, washer and dryer hookup just in case I want to do that, for washing dirty clothes out here, and I want to have a utility sink. So that's the main things I'm going to have. I do want to have a floor drain under here where I'm going to have 2 garage doors in the front here, and I want to have a floor drain somewhere close to where the cars are going to be parked, 2 of them here. So here, it's kind of bright and sunny out here, and I'm not much of one for digital drawings. Never was good at that. So I just did a hand sketch here. Hopefully you can kind of get the idea here. And I'm going to try to get a picture of this to show you a little bit more up close if you want. And I'll figure out some way for you guys to download this if you want it as well. Okay, so it's super windy out here. That's why I have this blocked here with 2x4s. But I wanted to show you a little bit here. So this is my floor plan layout. And then here I kind of sketched out where the cars will be parked. So I want a floor drain here, floor drain here. Over here I want a drain for the utility sink and the stand-up shower and the toilet here and the washer and dryer. And I'll probably do some kind of a drain back here in the mechanical room. It kind of just symbolizes the stairs going here. It's going to have a landing and then turn and go up, because upstairs I just have the center part of the building that's going to be used since it's an attic style truss. So that's why I'm doing this the way I am. So I'm going to get set up and get that laid out. Okay, so I moved to a less sunny location for doing this, and of course it's windy, so I still have to hold this down on that edge. But what I did is just use large graph paper, and I did 1/4 inch per foot layout on this. So what I can do is just reference off of the outside here. This is a drain kind of in the center of the washer and dryer towards the back side of the wall. Utility sink as well. I'm going to try to do that on the back side of that one. Then I got the toilet centered in there. So I'm going to try to reference this as close as I can. You can fudge the walls a little bit sometimes if you have to, like a little thicker wall or something, you know, things like that, but try to go as close as we can. Okay, so you probably saw me doing a little measuring earlier. This right here, I got this weighed down good because it's so windy, so I wanted to show this. So yeah, I want 14 feet from the outside here, 14 feet to the center of this wall. That's what I'm going to do for reference, because I want this plumbing to be inside the wall. So that's what I'm going to do, is measure that. So just to show you really quick like how I would do that. In my case, since the outside of the building is going to be 1.5 inches back from there, what I can do, I'm going to measure outside just so I have a good place to reference to. So there's 3 inches, so I actually have to go 14'3" to the center of my wall. So this is the outside of the wall, so it's a 2x4 wall, 3.5. So this is the center right here. This is where I'm going to hook my string up. So now I got to figure out where this wall is going to go. I could do the 1/4 inch per foot. We'll just go with an even inch so you can see there. So that's 4, 8, 10. So from the outside right to here is 10 feet. So that's 10 feet to this side of the wall this time. Now I want to go 10'3" since I'm hooked on the outside of that, plus the 1.5 inches. Hopefully that doesn't confuse you. But now I got to go 10'3", and this is where I got to put my stake, and I'll double check the length this way. That's how I figure out exactly where this wall goes. So I ended up doing a little different. I ended up going to the outside of the wall instead. You can see right there. So the example that I showed earlier, going to the center of the wall, I decided to go on the outside because I was thinking about it. The center of the wall is where the pipe's going to go, so the string is going to get in the way and going to get pushed around. So this way I decided I'm going to stay on the outside all the way around, so I do it the same every time. So this is the outside of the bathroom all the way around. So I know that the center of the wall is going to be 1.75 inches since it's 3.5 inch wall. So that's where I got to shoot for to put my pipes. So a lot of random stuff going on out here, but I'm working on getting the plumbing laid out. What I'm doing here, I think I showed you on the thing, but utility sink, drain over here. This is where the wall is going to go. I marked this wall out, which the string is down temporarily right now. But I'm going to do a stand-up shower, then I'm going to do a toilet, and I'm going to do a washer dryer. This line right here is a septic line going out, and right over the bank there I'm going to do a vertical step with a clean out down there to the tank. And so right there, I know what the distance is in this. It's 45 feet. So what I did is I used my laser transit, this handy thing right here. I don't have it turned on at the moment, which I think I had talked about this quite a bit earlier in the video, but if you are going to be doing a lot of this stuff, I highly recommend getting something like this. I'll include a link down in the video description below the video if you want to check this one out. It was right around $750, I think, for the whole setup, tripod, grade stick, receiver, everything. And this is a very accurate machine. I read a lot of reviews on it. It is the RL-H5A, and overall I'm really happy with it. So I've used it a lot for setting the grade boards. I'm going to use it for this. I'm going to use it for shooting final grade in here. So all kinds of things. If you're going to rent one a few times, I think it's worth just buying one. So that's just my thoughts. Back to this, what I was saying is, what I did is I shot the grade right here where the toilet pipe is going to be. And I shot grade down over there where I know that's going to be. I measured the distance, which is 45 feet. I need to have a 1/4 inch per foot run drop. So that's 11 1/4 inches that it has to drop from here to here, which the ground actually slopes that much, pretty much perfectly already. So I just need to dig the same depth all the way in, and I'm going to go down below frost line, dig that in. I don't have to go quite frost line because I'm going to bring fill in on that side, but I kind of know what I want to be, a couple feet down. And so I'm going to try to dig that in the best I can, as accurate as I can. And then I'll just have to do some hand digging, add some crushed gravel to it to pack it down and stuff like that to get the final grade exact when I'm ready to set my pipe. So I'll show a little more of that process later. So one thing you really have to think about with digging, I decided to wait to do this till after this is formed up, which can be a problem in itself sometimes because now you have to work around whatever is here. But the pro is you can have all this formed up so you have something exact to measure off of. You could measure off the strings and try to do this ahead of time if you want. This is just how I chose to do it. I've done it different ways before. When we did the house over there, I did the plumbing first before doing any of the rest of it. But for this, I decided I'm going to try to do it. And this one's not quite as big, so I think I can reach. So for this part, I'm going to try to reach for the first couple of feet, maybe 6 feet of this, and then I'm going to reach the rest from over there. Now what I did in this case, since I knew I wanted to go down 2 feet all the way out through there, I found out what the grade was before I started, and then I set this 2 feet higher, so that way it goes 2 feet lower. You can tell I'm pretty much right there. So now what I'm going to do is dig a little ways, and I'm going to adjust the transit according to the distance I go. So I'm going to kind of check the grade as I go. So if I go out, say dig 10 feet out or so, then I'll know that I need to go down another 2.5. So later you'll have to do some hand digging to get this exact, but this just gets it pretty close as you're digging along. So you can see where I started there. I couldn't quite reach with the bucket, but I can get that by hand easy enough. So I went out about 10 feet and moved the grid stake 1/4 inch per foot to that location and right on. So I'm going to just keep digging. Going to be really careful around that form there. Probably going to do a lot of hand digging, so not going to get super close. So that's the one con of having your forms up now. But like I said, the pro is you have the forms in place to measure everything off of. And if you don't have to go this deep, it's a lot more ideal. This is pretty deep. Just keep digging along here. Pretty much got everything dug that I want to for tonight. Got that dug over there to the footer. And then I didn't want to disturb this too badly. So I shot grade right on this side, then I came over here. Of course there's some loose stuff. I shot grade on the other side, got that dug all the way out to there. So that's where I'm going to end it for now. So it's going to go down the hill on the other side from there, but that's where the vertical step's going to be. Now I just got to dig all this by hand. Tomorrow when I get done with work, I'm just working on this in the evenings and weekends for the most part. And then I should be ready to start figuring out plumbing. So a little bit has happened here. Been working along. Remember I dug over here. This was a couple nights ago. I've just been working on this in the evenings, trying to get this prepped a little more before I show you the rest of the process. But you remember this string line that I had set up for reference? Still here, along with all my other stuff sitting around. There's so many parts and pieces that you need sometimes, so when you're doing this, get extra and just return it when you're done, is my advice. No matter how many you get though, you're gonna end up going to the store and getting some more, seems like. There's always something. So really quick, you remember how I had said that the toilet was gonna run out by itself? So I'm coming up with a 4-inch pipe into the concrete because I want to be able to use this and slip inside the pipe later. The 3-inch pipe can either fit inside or the 4-inch can fit on the outside, which is very common. Since I'm going to run it long and cut it off later through the concrete, I want to get this kind and have a 4-inch so that way I can cut it right flush with the concrete when I'm done, set this on, and I'm good to go. But to do that, you need to have a 4" by 3" if you're going to go to 3" anyway. For this example, I'm running a 3" line, the one furthest over there, and I'm doing, this is called a closet elbow, I believe, or something like that, 3x4 closet elbow, if I'm saying it correctly. I'm just putting this here temporarily for now. What I'm going to do is put another one like that, a Y, 3x3x2 Y, with a street 45 and have it pointed up, and then it's going to be a vent right here. I'll show you a little more when I get done with this, but there's going to be a vent right here coming up to vent this. Same with this one. This is the other line for the gray water. I want to vent this up here, same spot, right beside it through the wall. Then I'll end up tying them together and go through the attic. Over here is where the shower is. So I'm going to go off to there, and then I'm going to reduce to a 2" and go straight over there for a floor drain in the mechanical room. I just want to have a floor drain back there. And I should never send anything down there that is going to clog it, so I'm not too worried about that. In here, since you don't want any hard bends to tie the shower in, I'm doing a 3x3x2 Y, then a street 45, same as this one, and it's going to go that way over there. I'm just going to do a 90 there and come up because it's going to get a P-trap below the tub shower, so that'll take care of that. And then this is going to come up, it's going to be a vent. I'm going to come up like this inside once the wall's up, and I'm going to do street 45s off to the side, and this is going to go over for a drain for the washing machine. This is going to go over for a drain over there for the utility sink, and then straight up is going to be the vent. So that should do it. So what I like to do is I'm setting this up, I'm just putting some dirt in to kind of fill in to the right height what I need to do. I've showed this trick before, but I'll show it again. So what I like to do, I actually have a video about this. I'll link to that if I can find it. So for example, if you want to drop a 1/4 inch per foot, this takes the guesswork out of it. This level is 6.5 feet, so I put the block at 6 feet. But what I did is I put an 1.5 inch block because a 1/4 inch per foot times 6 is 1.5 inches. So what I did is I put the block right at 6 feet, and then on this level, for short runs, I wanted it for like there, 2 foot level, so I needed a 1/2 inch block. So I just taped it there with electrical tape on the end. So you hold your level right on the upper end, and on the lower end you put the block on there, and then if you're close, it should read right on level. See that? It's really close right there. So if you put the block on, you can read exactly level with your level. So I just thought I'd share that with you guys. So as I'm going along here, what I like to do is dry fit everything first. Make sure everything is in place before you start gluing anything. Just make sure that everything was going to fit, everything measures out, because you can put these things together. You don't want to put them together too tight, but they do come apart pretty easy. One thing I was going to talk about is when you're dry fitting everything, how do you figure out like how to measure things? What I like to do, say for example here where this shower is, I like to put maybe this upright piece right here with a 90 elbow on it. You want to use a long sweep 90. But what I like to do is set it right there and kind of measure off the string and see kind of what you want. I want 24 to the center, which I have. So then like my example, coming from the outside hooked on, I wanted to be 8'6" to the center, which I'm really close right there, 8'6". So what I do is hold it in place there. Like when that's sitting right there, you can measure inside the fitting or figure out how far it measures into the fitting. Or you can measure tight in between, like this, like where your tape measure butts up, and you can measure tight on this end. So say for example, that's 26 3/4. Then you would measure what this lip is right here, which it's about a 3/4, just a little over a 3/4. See right there where that lip is? That's where it is the inside. And then you could do the same there, figure out what that is. As long as you know this is in place where you want it, center-wise, then that's how you measure. And so like in this one, it goes right into that part there when it's empty anyway, and right to this part. So what I did is just measured right from there to that point, and then I was able to cut that piece once I confirmed that that was in the right spot. So just things like that. Usually I cut the upright part, set it right where it needs to go, and then go from there. And then like this one, this was the main one that I knew that it had to go somewhere. Like this vent is coming up in the middle of this wall. This is going to be a 5.5 inch wall. So I want it 2 3/4 to the center of the string. So I'm really close right there. This has a little bit of movement in it that far up. So I got it really close. So this one I knew I had to place exactly because of this wall right here. And then this one, I knew I had to figure out where the tub goes, the shower. And so that pretty much had to get placed. But since this can turn a little bit, you can kind of, you know, figure out, just lay it out there before you put this piece, which I had these already cut, these little short pieces, so I just put some in that I had. What you do is lay this one out on the ground after you discover where this one goes, And then you can measure this in between and put that in, dry fit it in. And here I just reduced it 2 inch so I could get that floor drain. Things like that you have to think about. I put these caps on to keep the concrete out. I'll probably put a little tape on them too so they don't move. And just cut them long. And then once your floor is in, then you can put these guys through your sill plate and then tie them all together. That's kind of the process how I think through about laying it out, getting it all dry fit first, make sure it's going to work before you ever start gluing. So when I'm gluing pipe together, what I like to do is glue the ones that I know that don't matter as far as something angled or something. For example, this one, I could clean this joint out, glue this pipe together. I could put this together because this doesn't have any bearing on elevation, things like that. This pipe over here, I could take that apart and glue that elbow together on both sides, because this is really the one that's going to matter. Once I get this in here like this, I need to have a slight elevation like this. I would try to get everything ready and then glue the joints all together at the same time. You have to move quickly because it dries fast, but I'll try to show that a little bit as I go along. So first, like I said, I like to do the ones like this that don't matter, and if they're really dirty, this one's not too bad, but I like to take a paper towel or a rag or something and clean these first, get the dust off of them, because from working on them, they get a little bit messy. So for example, this one, if you've never used glue and primer before, I'll show you what I use. A lot of times, you can use some different ones. I like to do the heavy duty stuff, if possible. I like using clear stuff as well, just because it doesn't make it near as messy. Not that it's going to matter here, because it's not going to be seen. And sometimes inspectors like to use purple primer because they know that you cleaned it really well. That's what the purple is for, so they can see with a glance that you did it. So for example, you use the primer first and put it in here very generously, trying to get it all over yourself. So you want to clean that really well, and then that will dry. Just in a few seconds, it'll dry quickly. This pipe here wasn't cut the nicest, but should be okay. So you want to clean a good enough area where you know that the glue is going to be in. Once this is primed, you want to make sure to not get it to touch any dirt until you're ready to glue it. Now I got to set this somewhere. I don't want to get it in the dirt, but I only got so much stuff to work with here. So every connection needs to be cleaned really well. Now you want to close this up when you're not using it. That's all primed, ready to go. So now I got the glue here. You can be generous with this. You don't want to get too much, but you can certainly be generous with it. Then I like to put it in and turn it a little bit just to make sure that its glue is smeared all the way around really well. And just like that, within seconds, it's set. The only thing you want to make sure is that it doesn't push out for some reason. So I like to hold it just for a little bit. Sometimes you can put it on the outside here, but I also like to put it inside the fitting. Now if you get too much glue, it just gets messy and gets everywhere. And wow, that bit fast, quickly. Now if you're using this quite a bit, you can just set the cap on top without screwing it in. But if you're not going to use it for a while, I'd recommend screwing it because it does dry out. So what the primer does is it cleans it really well, and it also softens it a little bit. See how it takes that print right off? But it softens it a little to prepare it for the glue. There you go. So that's the process of gluing things together. Okay, so I don't need to show everything, but I kind of wanted to walk you through a little bit on the time lapse of how I put that together. Like I put the ones together, like I said, that didn't really matter, and then the critical ones where I had to make that connection right there, and then I had to wait for this one to last so that way this one's perfectly upright. So things like that, I had to kind of time it, get it all together quickly once I had it glued, and get it right where I wanted it. So you only have like 2 seconds, so you got to do it quick. Okay, so this is how far I got so far, just to show you in my example what I had to do. So I got floor drain mech room there, which I had told you about. I got the toilet right here, and I got the 2 vent pipes right there. One's going to be a drain as well. This is my shower, and so this right here are my floor drains. So for this, you can kind of see, I just got this dry fit in here, and I leveled it as I went. A little bit extra long here still, but that's what I'm going to do to transition, because I'm going to have a drain over there and one over there for parking 2 cars in here. Figured that should be good. Then I'll have this, kind of this Y, and that's what I had to do, is just do 45 street elbow here and here to get it lined back up, and that should flow good, I think. So I got everything sloping 1/4 inch per foot all the way down to here. Okay, so we ran the pipes out to here for now. I put these rubber fern coat caps on them
You can get regular pressure test caps, the red ones with rubber gasket on them, but these are a lot cheaper and they seem to hold good, so I'm just using those to pressure test them. So I got the lines coming out here. So what we did, since I have that new hydrant up there above the backhoe, we wanted to pressure test this. We filled the septic line up, you can see right there, but this is right below it. This is the vent, so this is as full as I could make it. And I'm testing it for a while to see that it's holding, make sure it's not leaking anywhere. As far as the drains go, I'm actually waiting on FedEx to come so I can decide which floor drains I'm gonna do. So all that to say is, this is the highest point. And since I don't want to put my P-trap yet until I'm committed, what I did is I filled these up. We kind of did it with this till it started coming out, but the water is sitting right there at the pipe. So that's as full as I can make it right there. So pressure testing it all. It's holding, it's looking good, not leaking at all. So we're gonna let that sit for a while. And then if everything checks out properly, then we're good to backfill. All right, guys, so earlier I had showed you I did a pressure test and all that. Everything turned out great, so I started filling back in. And I wanted to bed the pipe. I usually like to cover the pipe, pack down around it really well, make sure if there's any low spots that you get that filled in nice so that the pipe lays nice and straight and flat along with the slope that you've got. And so I like to bed it really well, and then before anything big gets on it, there's about 6 or 8 inches of dirt on top of this, I would say now that all this big stuff is in here. But then I try to pack it down in layers as I go. I got a plate tamper I'm going to try to bring in here and run over this too. So I might try to break up some of these big chunks because they're really big. And then I also would recommend that you level these kind of as you're putting dirt in here, like the toilet pipe here. I like to level it both ways. And these you can do as well if you want. It's not quite as critical as long as they end up in your wall is the main thing. For the shower drain, I'm leveling that one as well. So just kind of do it as you go, as you bring dirt up around it and pack it around and stuff. So for these floor drains, these are just sitting here, but this is what I ended up with. So what they are is they are a floor drain with a P-trap built in. To get it up to height, I want to end up being about a 3/4 inch down, I think, from floor height is what I decided. So I'm just going to have them slope a little bit around here for when a car is parked here, it'll kind of drain into there as my thoughts. Since I already had these drain pipes in and I wasn't sure which floor drain I was going to use, then these showed up. I kind of like these because what it is they have a built-in P-trap, but then they also have a rubber plug in there and a clean out. So if you ever have problems, you can clean this drain out. With this 45, it should be okay. It's got 2 45s here. It's gentle enough. You should be able to make that with your snake if you need to. So I wanted to show you one more time how everything turned out before gravel goes down. So what I did here is I filled the dirt in layers and I packed it down. I wet it down and packed it down. I got myself one of these compactor plates. I ended up just getting the Central Machinery one from Harbor Freight, but for the price, it does the job. It runs good. So I think that's going to do the trick for me. There are some other companies that are kind of in the similar $600 range that do pretty good. I'll include a link down in the video description if I find anything comparable, if you want to check it out. So if not, this seems to be a really pretty good machine so far. This is my first time using it, but I'm going to use it and test it out. But my thought was I could either rent this, but I have to use it in so many different times since I'm working evenings, weekends, and stuff. So I decided just to buy it instead of renting it because I am going to get a lot of use out of it, probably in the future as well. So that's kind of my plan. So you have to weigh that out, whether it's worth renting that or not for what you're doing. So anyway, so what I did, I used it on this. I put the dirt in layers, and it was such a hot day, I didn't time lapse all that. And I was kind of in a rush, actually. So I ended up just putting this in. I filled the ditch in on the other side over here. And I got this in, and I packed it down really well. You can see it packed down nicely. And I think it's going to be close enough for when I put gravel in here, because I'm going to bring in quite a bit of gravel. Did all this, got it in layers. I packed it down with the compactor plate, like I said. And then I wet it down really good. Did it in layers. And yeah, so not to repeat myself too much, but I also set the string back up here in the right spot to make sure everything is in place before I did the final round. And so I had to do a little bit of straightening, but these ones will end up inside the wall, just like I had hoped. This one's a little bit further this way, but it's within a 1/2 inch of the other. So I think that should be great. Toilet's good. Floor drain. So I set that floor drain height with the transit. I ended up going with the transit level. I did a string as well, but I confirmed it with the transit. For the mechanical room here, I wanted this one a 1/2 inch down from what the floor height is going to be. So I confirmed what the top of this was based on the floor height, dropped it a 1/2 inch. And then what I did, you can't really see it the best here. This is kind of a trick that I thought of. Hopefully it's going to work good to keep the concrete out and stuff when we're pouring, keep the dirt out and stuff. But the main idea is the concrete. I just used a Ziploc bag, a quart size I believe it is. Stripped it over here, I cut the top off. Anyway, folded it around in here so it's inside and out. Then I screwed it back into place. It has 2 screws. Then I covered the screws with duct tape, some good heavy duty Gorilla duct tape, because I don't want the screws getting full of concrete when they pour this. So, because the screws are still exposed, so I covered the screw heads up. So I just thought I'd share that little trick with you guys. I think I'm ready for gravel. Put that in layers as well. Pack it down with that thing. I usually wet the gravel down really good as well, so it packs really good. That makes for a nice base.
Alright guys, well I hope this video was helpful. If it was, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for future videos. The next video I'll be working on getting the rest of the foundation ready, getting the gravel in here, get it finalized, and getting it ready for putting insulation down. Keep your eyes out for future videos. Alright, thanks for watching guys.